Hi guys, hello and welcome back to my channel Elucidate. And guys, today we are going to understand or we are going to do a demo, like a practical kind of demonstration of all the TestNG annotations. So not all the TestNG annotations, I already discussed, this couple of annotations that, in my previous lecture, that we will be discussing all the annotations and the order in which all these execution normally takes place. We are going to discuss the flow of all these annotations which are actually present onto this particular bracket. So we will be discussing these as well, but later on onto my next lectures. And plus we will be passing some parameters. So we have to discuss all these things as well. So a lot of things to be done, but in order to make my lecture a little bit shorter, what we'll do is that today we'll be discussing only these ones, right? So that we are able to understand in a better and more efficient way. So, guys, let's start with the lecture without wasting time because, guys, your time is very, very important. I keep saying it because it really, if things are done in a proper manner, in a time, they are even more fruitful as compared to the other tasks. Okay, so let's start the lecture, guys. Right. So onto this particular lecture, there is one important interview query which is normally asked even by freshers, experienced, a lot of experienced people. How the flow works, what is the priority, what is the actual flow, how it works, right? Like what is before method, after method, especially to the newer guys. When they start using this TestNG framework, whether it be a developer, whether it be a software testers, both need to have that particular idea which annotation is executed at what point of time, right? So I'll make it very short and crisp and let's start discussing it. Okay, so guys, the flow of the annotations, all these annotations, the flow in which they are executed, I have literally discuss the flow, and that flow is like STCMT, which means so Tanya can make tea. If you can just read it, or if you can just learn it, you'll be able to recall even at the time of interview. So Tanya can make tea, which means S stands for sweet, like before sweet, after sweet, right? Test, like before test, after test. Class, C stands for class, like before class, after class. M stands for before method, after method. And this T, the second T, basically means at test. So everything which is annotated with at test annotation becomes your simply test case. That function, that method, or that piece of code becomes your test case. And what is a test case? A test case is just a piece of functionality, guys, which is required to be executed at some point of time. And all those test cases can be executed either via manual approach or via automation, right? So you can execute a test case manually or via some automation scripts. Right, so I'm not going to discuss what a test case is all about, how test case format looks like, how to write a test case. So test case, it's just a totally different world. It will take a lot of time, so I'm not going to discuss this. I am assuming that you guys know what a test case is, right? Because it will, simply help me in order to make this lecture a little bit more better. So I assume you guys know test case. So in order to, before even discussing the flow, we'll try to understand it with a totally a non-technical kind of example, right? Because if you understand, if you can remember the things the way you want, you will be able to recall them at any point of time. Even if you are sleeping, it will come onto your subconscious mind that so Tanya can make tea, which means that STCMT. So S stands for sweet, test, class, method, and test, right? So this is the flow in which it's gonna work, and how it's gonna work. Let's first understand it. So let's say I have created a particular class over here, and the name of that particular class is annotations. Okay, and now even before I give a demo to you, let's try to understand one thing. So guys, in your daily life, in your daily routine, when you wake up, you do certain piece of things. So what are the test case? As I said, that they are a piece of functionality that are required to be executed in software world. Let's say in a daily life, what can be a test case or a piece of functionality? A normal piece of functionality or a work that is required to do is that, like taking a physics class, right? Taking a physics class, this is also a piece of work that you need to do, or a test case, right? Taking a chemistry class is a piece of work that you need to perform, right? So these can be a two task or your two test cases that you need to perform in your daily life. Like when if your school is open or a college is open, you have to do these two things. So they can be annotated as your as test case, right? But even before performing this particular task, let's say before taking a physics class, you perform some ritual, right? You do something, you do something before taking a class, right? There you go to Instagram, or there are some people who go for, I mean, like some teachers or lecturers. I've seen people going for a smoke or what. I mean, any other thing, a ritual that you perform before taking a particular class, right? Or drinking a piece of, or a glass of water, right? And after taking a class, you also need to perform, right? Before taking class, you went to Insta, you had drink a cup of water, but after when your class is over, you say that you take down some notes of that class, or you upload your content over somewhere in some directories, right? So there are some rituals which you perform on a daily basis, right? So let's say this was one piece of functionality that you performed, and before performing this piece of functionality you did this, and after performing this piece of functionality you did this, right? Similarly, there is another kind of stuff that you have to take the chemistry class as well. I'm just taking weird examples so that it becomes easier for you and you do not have to revise, right? Because these weird examples simply make your life easy. In order to, in order if you want to go even more deeper, you need to connect it with your daily life, each and everything, because it really makes your life easy. Rather than learning a thing in a totally technical way, going for creating a WebDriver class and then instantiating all the browsers before it, I mean, before the browser gets invoked. We will do that as well. I'll take example of a particular framework and we will be discussing that in a framework as well. But at this point of time, I want all of you guys to understand it in a non-technical manner, because if you understand it and if you remember the concept, it's going to make your life easy, right? So let's say your second test case or second thing that you had to do is that you had to take a chemistry class. So in order to take a chemistry class, let's say you call your you call your parents, right? You called your parents, and after once your class was over, you you had a tea kind of stuff or coffee. You went for a tea or you went for a coffee, right? So these are certain things that you do perform on your daily task. Let's say assume, and in order to perform them, you do some things before them and after them, right? So how, and if you think that so how it's gonna help you in understanding all these annotations, I'll demo it to you guys. Let's say I've created a particular method. Let's say public void eating or eating, sorry, public void taking physics class, right? Let's say this is a particular function and I'll just create something over there. I have taken physics class. Guys, please pay attention over here, because if you do not pay attention, it might look simple and easy, but later on it won't be easy when we are going to intermingle a lot of scenarios. Let's say this is just one thing that you have to do in your daily life, or let's say today you have to perform this particular task, right? So before taking a physics class or this particular lecture, you need to do something else before this. So public void uh, drinking water before physics class. Let's say you do this. Water taken before physics class, right? And after physics class, you wanted to drink coffee as well. So I'll quickly, guys. Just create all these functions over here so that it becomes easier for you to understand. Taking coffee after physics class, right? We take in after physics class, right? So this is the thing. This is the piece of functionality or the test case that you wanted to execute in your daily life. And before doing this, you had to do this thing. And after once it was done, this is your normal routine. That after your class is over, you normally take a coffee after physics class or any other class, right? So this is the thing that were done before this task or before this test case or before this piece of functionality, and after. Okay, but let's say even before this you do something, right? So as the order which I discussed was that so Tanya can make tea, right? STCMT. Okay, just note it down over here. STCMT. I'll make it a comment over here. Sorry. And now guys, I am going to create some other piece of functions or other piece of functionalities. But in order to understand it, let's make it as at TestNG annotation. Click it over here and import test. Do not import from or.junit, import it from or.testng.annotations, right? And let's say this is a before method. Import before method, and let's say this is the after method. I'll import it. Okay, so these are the three things we have done. And if I click it over here, run all, simple we are just trying to take. So see, I have taken physics class. This was a piece of functionality that you had to perform today, but before that what you did, water taken before physics class and coffee taken after physics class, which means that at test annotation, in order to before execute this got executed, right? This method and test, STCMT is like your suite, before test, after test, class, method, and this is your test. So before this method got, you know, executed, as we have seen it over here. If when I clicked over here like run on, it totally showed me, right? So or this method got executed before it, and once this was executed, this coffee taken after physics class method got executed. So which means that the order that we described over here is currently working fine, right? Now we'll say or take example of a particular class, right? So let's say public void before going class. Let's say before taking your physics class, that is your normal habit that you check your Instagram, right? So I'll what I'll do over here is that I'll make it before class annotation at before class. So it means that even before you enter your classroom in your school or in your college, and even before drinking the water before taking the physics class, you have a habit of checking your Instagram or FB, whatever it may be, right? And I'll just paste this method over here, like at after class. Chatting with friends. Okay. I'll import it from TestNG or annotation. And now, guys, if I click on run all, something would happen. And the order, we are going to simply just check the order, right? So STCMT, which means that now class and then method and then test. It's going to execute onto this particular fashion, right? So just verify. This is your class. Checking Instagram before taking class, right? And then before method over here we have described that water taken before physics class. So water taken before physics class, then you take your class, and once your physics class is done, you take coffee, and once your entire class is done, I mean once you have taken all the lectures, then you have a habit of chatting with your, which means that this is the order in which these annotations are taking place in. This is the flow, and we are just trying to understand the flow with the help of these annotations and with the help of the demo, right? So till now, guys, we have worked on CMT, that is class, method and test, right? And now we are going to take or understand this at test, right? So what is at test? Let's say before doing this thing, or once you wake up in the morning, what you do, there some people have a habit of uh, you know uh, praying to god, or some have a habit of early walking, early running. So once you wake up, you do some piece of functionality, let's say even before going to take your class and all at 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. or 10 a.m., whatever the timing may be. This is the first thing you do, right? So let's understand it with the help of this example, like public void going to gym. Sorry, going to gym as soon as I wake up. Let's say this is your habit, right? And make another function going for evening walk. Guys, I hope you are getting the point what I'm trying to say over here. We'll discuss it that. Now we are going to discuss at test annotation. So I'll just put at before or after suite. After test, I'll just import it, and now at before test. We are only discussing the flow over here so that we are able to understand how these annotations are going to work before each and every piece of functionality or the important work that you are gonna do or you will be doing, right? So what you had to do today, you had to take a particular physics class, right? But before that, you know what you did, you have a habit of drinking water before physics class, right? And once your entire class is done, once you have taken all the thing, everything, or before entering your class, you have a habit of checking your insta or your social websites, whatever it may be, okay? And even before that, once you wake up, you had a habit of going to gym as soon as you wake up. So now what should the order be? It's like, so Tanya can make tea, so STCMT, so T stands for before test, right? So now if I click over here run all, it will start appearing automatically. See, the first thing that would be printed is that checking Instagram before class, right? So this is T, like at before test, right? And then after test, like, sorry, at before test, like water taken before the physics class. So if you check over here, checking Instagram before class, this is your before class. So we have discussed this test, going to gym as soon as I wake up, going to gym as this is test. And then what should be, sorry, my system is getting hanged, I'm really sorry, guys. Okay, the second thing is that checking Instagram before class, so this should be your C, which means before class, checking Instagram before class, like, right? TC and then M, before method, where is that before method? Water taken before physics class, water taken before physics class, right? And after that, this T. I have taken physics class, right? And after that you do this, after that you do this, and after that you do this. So till now we have discussed TCMT, like before test, after test, before class, after class, before method, after method, and this test. And now let's say even before doing all these things, you do, or you do have a habit of doing something else, right? As soon as you wake up, like even before going to gym, let's say when you simply wake up, or when your eyes are wide open in your bed itself, you have a certain habit of doing something, let's say public void, praying to god. As soon as you wake up, let's say this is what you do, even in your bed, as soon as you wake up, you have a habit of doing this, right? I just quickly print it over here, praying to god as soon as you wake up in the morning, right? And let's say when your day is getting over, then again you do this at the time of sleeping as well. So public void, praying to god as soon as you sleep. And quickly change this text, right? So as soon as you go to sleep, right? So what was your main aim for today? You had to take your physics class, but before taking physics class, you have an habit of drinking water, right? And even before drinking the class, before, let's say, assume that you are going to take your class, let's say section A, section B, or section C, you have a habit of going to your Instagram site and you take a selfie and you say that today going to section B with the yo sign kind of stuff, right? I've seen guys doing that. And even before at your class, is that once you wake up after some time, this is your normal routine, that you go to the gym as soon as you wake up, and when you are on your bed, you have a habit of praying to the god, right? And praying to god is your first thing that gets executed in the morning, or this is the first thing which you do, right? So if I annotate it with before suite, SUITE. What is before suite? Suite is a collection of test cases. So even before running all your collection of test cases, this is the first thing it will be done, right? After that, before test kind of stuff comes over here, right? Before test means before running your each and every test case, this is gonna happen. Then comes your class. Before this particular class, before this class is loaded, I mean, like something is required to be done, then this annotation comes into place, and similarly then before method, and then test, right? So this is the order in which it normally works, it normally executes. So I'm just going to import it, and over here I'm going to import after suite. Okay guys, so now we have done this. I'm going to click on run all. I have not taken that example in which we create a TestNG class, and guys, it's I would have given demo by creating a TestNG class and by saying that before method, after method. I have taken such a long example so that at least you remember something at the end of the lecture. At least you can associate that what should happen. So when you wake up, when you are onto your bed, you just pray to God as soon as you wake up, right? Once you wake up, you are wide awake, then you go to the gym, right? Once you come back from your gym, your habit is that even before entering your class, you take a selfie, that going to section A, section B kind of stuff, right? And let's say your class starts, but before it starts, you have a habit of drinking water, like you have a water bottle in your hand. Then you take your physics class, after that you take a coffee, after that you chat with your friend, you go for an evening walk, and once all your work is done, you pray to god as soon as you go to sleep in the night, right? So this is after suite, when all your test cases are done. But let's imagine that this is not the only piece of functionality. Sorry, this is not the only piece of functionality you had to do. Let's say you had to do two things. You had to take physics class, and you had to do a chemistry class. You have to take a chemistry class as well. So I'll just quickly update it. It won't take much time. It will hardly take 4 5 minutes more, guys. Just be with me. But you will be able to understand the concepts even much better. I have taken chemistry class. Now the output would be totally different. Let's understand it. It will be onto this order, so Tanya can make the STCMT. But let's see over here. I click on run all. I've clicked on run all, and now something else happened, right? You pray to God, go to them, checking Instagram, water taken. I have taken a chemistry class, right? Then coffee taken after physics class, water taken after physics class, I have taken. So actually I have hard coded the message. It might be a confusing, but what happens before every test case, your this method, before method gets executed, right? So let's say, let me change the particular text of this before method, water taken, and this after water taken. Sorry. Now it would be confusing for you guys. It's very easy. It's really very easy. See, see over here what's happened. Why it has not taken, or here comes your another concept, in which order, or the order of your execution of your test cases. So this is another interview question. So the flow we have discussed, the answer of this particular interview question is present over here, STCMT. But there is another interview query that is being asked, normally asked, that in which order test cases are executed. So the answer of this particular question is that they are executed in the alphabetical order, right? They are executed in the alphabetical order. Now try to understand what do you mean by alphabetical order. There are test cases. So I've written test cases over here at test, like these are my two test cases. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So if you come over here, C comes before and P comes later on, which means that first thing that it's going to pick up is that this particular test case, or this, because it will execute in the alphabetical order. Okay, so in order to make it ensure that it runs in alphabetical order, this will this test case will be executed first and this will be executed second, right? If it would have been an economics class, so A, B, C, D, E. So on the second, let's say I'll give you a demo how it works alphabetically. I'll quickly show rather than speaking, because it will actually help you taking economics class. So I have taken economics class, right? So I'm um, I'm pre-suggesting what's gonna be the order. First of all, this will take place. Second, economics, and third, physics. So remember, chemistry, economics, and physics. Would be the order in which it would be running. So it will be running totally alphabetically, which I have mentioned it already over here, right? See, chemistry, economics, physics. So this is the order in which your test cases are going to be executed. So it's not like that you have defined it somewhere else. This should be, if you deliberately want to execute physics class first, then we have to make use of add priority kind of stuff. I am going to discuss that later on, but at this point of time, let's see something what has happened. So very first thing that got executed, taking chemistry class. So before taking chemistry class, you take water and you take coffee, right? And before your this particular class, water taken before class, checking Instagram before class, and water taken after class. I mean, there is some issue with the messages that I have displayed it over here. So after before class, checking Instagram, this is fine. And what after class is like chatting with your friend. Okay. So the order of which is that your method is going to be executed for each and every test case. For each and every test case, guys. If I click it over here, let's, the way I have shown it to you. So the order of test cases would be this, and before running this, your before method annotation is going to run for each and every test case. So what is your before method annotation? Come over here, water taken before class, and then is your after method. water taken and coffee taken, right? So in order to see the output, chemistry class, water taken and coffee taken, right? Then I have taken economics class, water taken before, coffee taken after. Then water taken before, coffee taken after. So the before method, it means that before each and every test case, it is going to get executed. But it is not executed in a way that before sweet for every test case, and before test for every test case. Why? Because once you wake up in your morning, when you are lying onto your bed, you pray once, right? Before this can happen only once. You can pray your evening or your morning comes only once, right? It cannot happen that after going physics class again your morning will be coming, or before going to the physics class again your morning routine will be getting executed. No, this time is totally fixed, right? Similarly, this test, like this was STCMT. So this was before suite, and this is your before test or after test. So before running all your tests, like there are three test cases. So before running physics, chemistry, and economics, something is going to happen. So this is totally fixed. It is not going to execute every time. It will be executing only once, like praying to God as you wake up in the morning, right? So this would be the total output, or the order or the fashion in which it is going to get executed. I hope I am making sense. I believe that you guys are able to guys understand it, because this is the best way I'm able to make you guys understand. All my test cases have been passed. This is the last thing that you do into the morning, right? It is not saying that, or it is not executing in the order that praying to God after each and every physics class, because this is your night routine. It cannot happen after each and every test class. So this thing, remember guys, before method is that kind of annotation which will run for each and every. If there are 100 test cases, then 100 times it's gonna run. But this after class, or your test and suite, these are the things that are not going to happen each and every time for each and every of your test case. The way it will work, I'll show you with different classes, that this is only one class. Very soon we are going to learn our testng.xml file, right? So we'll be studying our testng.xml file. I mean the order of execution, how to make use of this .xml file. So everything we will be discussing in total detail, guys. But at this point of time, what we have learned and what we have understood is that STCMT, which means that before suite, before test, before class, they will run once, but this method before after, right? This part is gonna run for every test case. If there are 100 test cases, it's gonna run 100 times, right? Let's say do one more thing. I'll show you one more thing, right? Let's say before method, before taking your class, you have one more habit. I'll just copy paste it over here, and you have a habit of eating chewing gum, right? Chewing gum taken. So before your class is getting started, you defined that there are two things you have to do, which means that first you take water, and after that you start chewing your chewing gum in the entire class. Let's say this is a bad kind of habit you have developed, right? And after your class is done, you simply throw that chewing gum, or you spit it out. So over here you are throwing the chewing gum after class, right? So there are two habits that you have developed. First is that before you take any class, you first drink water and then you eat chewing gum. And once your physics class is done or your chemistry class is done, you have a habit of spitting out the chewing gum. So now what will happen? Two things will happen for each and every test case, right? Like for physics class, chemistry class, economics class, three things are going to take place. And what they and how they are going to take place, simply click on run on. See, chemistry, economics, physics, alphabetical, and I have taken chemistry class. So what you do, this is the order that I described. What first you have a habit of taking water, and then you have a habit of eating chewing gum. And once your class is done, you had a habit of taking coffee, and then you had a habit of throwing the chewing gum, right? So this was your habit. This is the way in which it is going to execute. So there are two preconditions, like before method and after method. Before method, these are the two preconditions that you have defined, and both of them will be getting executed. A, B, C, D, E. So I think they will be executed onto this particular order. So the D means drinking water. So before water taken before class, and then it would be printing what coffee taken after class, right? Let's check it out whether it was working onto this particular fashion or not. See, coffee taken after class and throwing the chewing gum. So after, there is your after method, throwing the chewing gum, right? Wait. Yeah. So guys, this was the order in which all these things have been working. This is the way. If you have defined certain two preconditions even before running a particular test, all those things are going to get executed before each and every test case, right? And now we will be discussing later on with the help of the real world examples, that like instantiating a web driver, running multiple instances, or before running a particular test case, there are certain preconditions that should be there, like there has to be two logins and both the people should get logged in. So we are going to do and discuss all of these things, but I hope you guys have got the clear cut idea what it is all about, right? So guys, I hope you are able to understand, and if you are not able to understand, and please let me know, since I do have some time crunch today as well. But please let me know in the comment section. I will make a total separate video again if you guys are not able to understand, right? And guys, I hope you are getting it, because nothing is easy, nothing is difficult. It's just that at some point of time we do not get a proper tutor or a proper person who can help us understand the things. I mean, when I started learning Java, and when I started learning all these kinds of things, the people used to tell me in a fashion which was very very much technical, right? So what used to happen, guys, with me, I'm just telling you the example. Let's say if I ask someone that, guys, can you please tell me what water is all about? So the answer which I used to get is that water is a combination of this hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, then I did some research. Let's say this was a user story about water. Let's say, so the people used to tell me that, Abhinav, it is a combination of hydrogen and oxygen. I used to say, okay, fine. Again, second time I did the same thing. I did a lot of research. I googled. I went to a number of search engines in order to understand what that is all about. But I was, let's say, not able to understand. The second time when I asked, what the people said to me that Abhinav, when two molecules of hydrogen combine, let's say, with two molecules of oxygen, it will give it two molecules of oxygen. It's gonna give me like 2H2O. So they gave me a chemical equation, a balanced equation, and they said that you do not know the chemical equation when 2H2 plus 2O2 will give you 2H2O. So I'm practically, they are saying correct, because this is what chemical equation, this is what water is all about. I thought that there is some problem with me. I won't be able to become a techie guy, or I won't be able to understand anything in my life, right? So again, I did some research and I came to know that, okay, this is the chemical formula. Third time I asked to that particular person in that one of the organization, and they said that when the outer sorry guys, I'm laughing, but they said that the outermost configuration, or the outermost configuration, or the shell of oxygen, it contains 6 electrons or 8 electrons. They started giving me answer in that particular fashion, right? And then the fourth time when I did research, that I was totally feeling, I was quite feeling low at that point of time, because I was not able to understand what this simple thing what is all about. Everybody was able to write, test case, or to automate, or they are able to develop an application around water. Let's say I'm just giving a weird example, but I was not able to understand what this water is all about. But one day I was discussing it with one of my senior, and he simply said, "I mean, water. You don't know water. Why are you worried? Water is nothing. Water is just a fluid. Water is just a fluid or a liquid which human beings require for drinking purposes, without which people would not be able to live in. If water is not there, there would have been no life on earth." Then I, guys, had a clear cut idea what this water is all about. What this by water, I mean, again, that is just another name or alias. Water is over here. It's like an alias for one of my user stories in one of my organization. So, guys, in just one line, that guy told me what water is all about, how to understand or how to take the requirement from the client, how it works, what it really is. And then, guys, within 3 to 4 hours, I was able to understand the user story. I was able to write test cases, or I was able to automate. I was able to do unit testing. I was able to help my developers in order to develop that particular piece of functionality. So by saying all these things, I mean that you need to have right mentor at right point of time, and please try to understand the things in a very very basic manner, right? I mean, you can play around with a number of scenarios: before method, after method. Let's say describe three before methods, so three times something would happen over here, right? So you can play around with all these scenarios. I cannot explain each and everything, but I have given you a very very basic idea. So do not feel dejected at some point of time where people try to talk you in a very technical manner. Always try to understand the things in a most simple and basic manner. This will help you a lot to grow in your organization as well, and you will be feeling a bit more confident, right? Because the more simple you are, the more deeper you get, or you get to the skin of the application in the most simplest manner. If you try to understand it, and if you try to understand it in a more technical manner, you will be just roaming around here and there, and you won't be able to get the output. We are over here learning things in order to understand and to make use of it in our daily life, right? So guys, enough of the lecture, enough of the time I have wasted. I'm really sorry for that, but I hope you guys have enjoyed the lecture, and please let me know if there is any feedback or any comment for me. Please do like my channel, it simply motivates me. And thank you for your time, thank you for your patience. Stay safe, stay healthy, and be healthy, guys, right? Thank you everyone.